mean, that's kind of scary that a company could manufacture something that well that they could just slap another name on it and call it a product.
It is.
You know, these hamburgers are quite similar to the ones they have at Krusty Burger.
Oh, no. Patented Skinner Burgers. Old family recipe.
For steamed hams.
Yes.
On this episode, we discuss counterfeit equipment, relationship management, and supply chain. All that and more on EDTech. EDTech episode 114, Counterfeit Relationships. Hello, AV friends, and welcome to another episode of EDTech. As always, we have our panel of awesome higher ed AV professionals. Ernie Bailey. How you doing, Ernie?
Aaron, I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Doing about as good as one can be. And we also have with us Scott Tyner. How you doing, Scott?
Hi, I'm doing well. Great to be here again. Nice to see everyone.
Today, we have a special guest joining us for this episode from the University of Buffalo, Kevin Hartman.
Hi, Aaron. Hi, guys. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Yes. Welcome, Kevin. And tell us a little bit about what you do over there.
So I am in our School of Management. I'm an instructional support tech. I record lectures. We call them digital access. Very high mass enrolled courses, like 600 students, let's say, some of them. There's only 50, 60 seats in the room. So I'm got a switcher, some Vadio PTZ cameras, and I'm live streaming, switching them. And then I'm also Panopto admin for the university. I do a lot of training on things like Panopto and Zoom, and I dip my toes a little bit into LMS support as well, just kind of showing faculty different tools in there.
Excellent. So this month, it's New Year, but it's like New Year, new twist on topics we've kind of touched on a little bit before, but we'll talk about it in a new way with a new guest and see where the conversation takes us. So the first article comes to us from AV Magazine. Acoustics hosts destruction event for counterfeit speakers. So how amazing would it be to go all Office Space on some speakers? But from that aside, what kind of lessons can we learn from this counterfeit equipment situation? Like, how do we protect our campuses from potential bogus equipment?
Well, first of all, good on Acoustics for realizing there was, somebody was trying to make a buck off of their name and their product, and they're doing something about it. For us, and I don't know about the rest of you guys, we're a large public institution here, so we have certain rules we have to follow when it comes to buying equipment and RFPs and getting so many quotes, yada yada yada. So I would always say, make sure you know who you're working with. Find when you send out that RFP, look at these companies who are coming back to you, see if any of them are on state contracts, see if any of them are on, or at least have good reviews out there somewhere. Maybe you've got people who've worked there in the past. Try to find word of mouth. Don't go with any, small time guy.
We actually went through a similar situation with some products from a reputable AV vendor, but they're the ones that actually contacted us and said, we just found out that we shipped you some counterfeit. These were Elmo document cameras. And, they said, we found out after we shipped them, we have real ones coming back and we'd like to come replace them. And they did. They took good care of us. And it was a first experience for me with dealing with something like that. And I'd never thought about counterfeiting AV gear.
That's interesting. I mean, I'd just be curious to know how those would get into the supply of a reputable dealer. I mean, I was thinking the same thing as Kevin was saying, right? You just don't buy from some pretend box store on the internet, buy from your local dealer, but those get into their hands. That's a little scary.
Yeah. These were apparently counterfeited close to the manufacturer, the actual manufacturer, and it was done at the initial shipping point. So they came across the Pacific in boxes from them, that looked like they came from the manufacturer. Like I said, it was an interesting deal, and it's been several years, but if you're working with a reputable company, like Kevin said, they can work with you and help you determine that.
I mean, that's kind of scary that
Yeah.
a company could
It is.
manufacture something that well that they could just slap another name on it and call it a product.
Yeah, I think particularly, I think it's scary for the companies that they're doing this to, because if you don't know, and Ernie's got all these cameras over there that aren't working well, and he thinks it's that company,
Yeah.
and he gives testimony to fellow colleagues about not buying that piece of equipment, it can have real long lasting impacts. And
You're out a ton of sales.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I certainly can't let this go by without saying you got to check out the pictures on that website of them just smashing these speakers and using heavy equipment to smash them.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
The best, company retreat ever, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I do like that they did mention that they essentially were pulling anything that was like recyclable out of them too.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be like all just tossed in a landfill and continuing the sustainability issues that we have.
Yeah.
So that's good too. At least.
Well, and you look at this, with the situation we went through, this is something that sits on a table and it's, a couple of pounds. These are speakers you fly over people's heads. That's the scary part to me is, how well are they manufactured? If someone's trying to make a quick buck, what did they do safety wise?
And like Scott mentioned, it's not just a bad look for the manufacturer. If the integrator doesn't know,
Yeah.
which we don't know if they do or don't, that's bad on them too. Are they not QCing the stuff that comes in their door? Are they just, do they know it's counterfeit because they're trying to, get in on a little bit more of a markup? Who knows?
Right. Yeah. Because it's not like you're going down some back alley and buying some like fake Prada bags. This is like actual equipment that you're, expecting to be getting through reputable sources.
It's interesting. I mean, as I think about it, I have to imagine that some of these resellers are getting scammed like any of us would, right? They're getting a phone call. Oh, I'm your new dealer at such and such a place. If you have orders, just send them to me and I'll process them. It's bizarre and just raises the point. You got to pay attention to everything.
So this actually kind of makes a nice transition to our next.
Hello, this is Steve Greenblatt, host of AVNation's State of Control podcast. Each month, Rich Fregosa and I explore trending topics related to control, programming, and automation in the audiovisual industry. We speak with a variety of AV professionals who share their perspectives, knowledge, and experiences. Please join us for this monthly conversation. Check out A State of Control on avnation.tv or wherever you get your podcasts.
Article that came from Rave Pubs by Scott Tyner, relationship selling. So, I mean, because these sorts of relationships are very important in universities and kind of building that trust in those companies that we work with and knowing that what we're getting is the good stuff. So yeah, what are your thoughts, everyone?
Yeah, this piece is interesting to me because I think that, and I think it hits me more and more as we get further away from the pandemic, and my view that customer service continues to get worse and worse. That you have somebody somebody you trust. And one thing that absolutely drives me insane is when somebody calls me up or sends me a message on LinkedIn telling me they have a solution to my problems when they literally don't even know what my problems are. So when you have somebody who knows you and can actually bring products to you that you will use, it's so valuable. But it's difficult because at the same time, companies do need to sell things. They do need to move product and the like. So it's also hard for a salesperson to kind of get into that relationship with you.
I mean, how many of us have gotten the thank you for attending our product webinar when we've never attended said product webinar email? You get those all the time now, or sorry, we missed you on that. To Scott's point about, having somebody you can trust, sometimes it's just finding that somebody. We have an integrator that we work with a lot, and they are so short-staffed right now that sometimes it's hard just to get them up here. And obviously, it's not just us; it's everywhere. We know that, but it gets a little frustrating when you've got somebody good, but they can't get to you because they've got a million other schools they're dealing with right now, and because they're down 4 or 5 people, and they can't even find somebody to necessarily help you or help you as soon as they want to be able to help you.
Yeah, and we've run into this just recently in that, in the past, we would call up one of our favorite integrators or whatever, the customer service salesperson there, and say, hey, can you arrange a demo of this product for me? Well, we weren't getting anywhere with that. We ended up calling the manufacturer, and they actually came and set up a demonstration of the equipment. They've left it here with us until mid-January, asked us to show it to other people and to vendors in our area. So we're inviting, the integrators to come here and see a product when they should be calling, they used to call me to come to their place to see something, or they would show up with the manufacturer. Now I'm going back to all my integrators and say, hey, call this rep from the manufacturer. They handle the educational side for us, or they handle the healthcare side, depending on what it is. And can you get me pricing on this? Because I have a demo. And, it seems backwards to me from what we've done over the last 40 years that I've been here. So, and I've mentioned in conversations before, there are some of the, salespeople that I've worked with in the past that have retired. I still go have lunch with these guys and talk with them and, have a relationship outside of the pure AV world. We still talk AV when we get together, but the people that I'm dealing with now at some of the same integrators are, just, hey, here's the price, just do whatever you want. And not trying to find us solutions, but letting us find the solutions. Now, I've got good AV engineers on my team, so that's not a problem. But I'm not seeing the support that we used to see, like, pre-COVID,
Yeah, I said in the intro, we're Panopto shop for lecture capture. Panopto recently got rid of a lot of their customer success managers, if not all of their customer success managers. Who do we talk to now? Is it an engineer? Is it a tech? Which is great. I got great relationships with a couple of their engineers and techs, but just to have some customer individual worker manager to be like, hey, how's it going? How are you using the product? Or you're to meet them at a conference or something. I hate the fact that we don't have something like that anymore. It's you still need those people.
Yeah, that does make a big difference.
It's nice that so many integrators and manufacturers and whatnot, they recognize that higher ed is different and that they are getting better at getting their people to recognize that in just simple things like, don't call me the first week in September and be like, hey, can I have a minute of your time? No, you cannot. I am sorry. If you want to get in the higher ed market, you should know that is like some of the busiest time ever. Look at the class schedules. Like, just peek and see when does the semester start. Oh, okay, maybe I'll bother them a couple weeks in when I know things have calmed down. Or like, if you want in on projects, like you got to get in at a certain time. Like, everything's planned by, you can't, gone are the days that you can stroll in March and be like, hey, what are you doing this summer? Can we help you out? Because pretty much we've got to have everything planned and orders done by then. Because,
And this is where I think it's great. Ernie mentioned he's got a couple engineers on staff. Maybe I don't know if in-house integrator is the right term. I know that we use that a lot, but the people around your campus who may have used some of this equipment, may have it in their shop. For instance, we launched some online programs here, and our dean asked for a green screen studio, and so we built it, and we went and talked to our libraries because they had a couple, and we looked at what they had, and we pretty much equipment wise went with a lot of the same stuff they had because we knew it worked. We knew they weren't going to be using it if it didn't work, because they get much higher usage of their rooms than we do currently, because they're supporting the entire campus and students, not just faculty. So to be able to have someone like that who knows some of this equipment already, it's like, oh yeah, no, this is great, and we're going through B&H or whatever, Midtown AV, whatever AV dealer you're going through, just to have that extra little, not, I don't know if support's the right term, but that extra little, I guess, knowledge base of some of this stuff. It's just, you can't put a price on that.
Yeah, exactly. And, and for years we have avoided the B&H stores or CDW or anybody like that simply because we wanted to deal with someone that knew what we were doing. Well, we're not seeing that now. My people know, they do the research. Like I said, I got engineers, designers, programmers on my team. So I'm now looking at those companies because they're their price match. You tell them you're an educational institution, they give you educational discounts. I was really surprised when I recently started dealing with both B&H and CDW at their pricing. I see their public-facing pricing, and I say, I'm not going to spend that much for this, but our purchasing people know who to talk to when they call them, and the price is the same thing that I'm paying an AV integrator who's giving me the educational discount and whatever points I get from manufacturers. I'm seeing that from them. So why go to the AV integrator if I'm not needing installation and if they're not going to provide me design or solutions that I need, if they're just going to be a box house.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of the old, do I go mom and pop or do I go Amazon, Walmart? It's kind of like you want to buy local, but at the same time, when there are these big companies like CDW and B&H that are doing it well, that are focusing on higher ed and the needs of our particular vertical, it's a lot harder to decide to go, well, you know what, the local guy that that has been doing okay, for me lately, but hasn't really stepped it up or changed their model anytime recently. Why would I bother at this point? Well, this seems like a good transition point to move to our next story. And that one comes from Systems Contractor News, Supply Chain Lessons Learned. So I know this is a topic that we've kind of have touched on here and there in the past, but what have we learned? Since the pandemic and, since then,
I think this ties into the relationship selling in that, when we first started seeing the supply chain issues, we were calling integrators and say, hey, do you have something else that will do the same thing? And if you had a good relationship there and they had good engineering team available, they could offer you alternate solutions to what wasn't available. That's as the supply chain is getting better, and they're all looking like they've about recovered from the 2 or 3 year lag times we had on some products. But I will say because of the supply chain issues and finding alternate products, we have changed some of our design plans, and we're using different manufacturers, even though the name brands that we've used for decades are back to supplying immediately. We found alternate products for, either more features or less cost or both that I wouldn't even have looked for because I was happy with what I was getting from these other people. So, that's a lesson that we've learned, is that there are other people out there that are willing to manufacture and sell, and that could provide when nobody else could.
Yeah, I think it shows too, just how creative some of us had to get, right? I mean, we couldn't get control systems for 2 years. We had to push using cameras that were maybe outdated. My room here, we were supposed to do it in summer of 2020, and we just did it this summer. And even that, we still had to wait on a DMPS. We ended up borrowing one from our central IT group, and when ours finally came in, we gave them ours.
We were forced to move to virtual processors.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's been a very good move for us. I'm buying less hardware. It's easier setup, easier programming for my team. But that was because we couldn't buy a hardware one.
Right. And in some cases, hey, here's $100 Logitech webcam. There's your room camera now. If you don't want to use a chalkboard, here's the dock cam, and here's the USB cord that connects it to the computer, and here's how you use VLC so you can get the camera on the computer. There's ways you can do it. It may not be perfect, obviously it wasn't, especially in the first 6 months or so of the pandemic, but we got through it. It's amazing what you can do when you're able to, when you're forced to do something. I had one instructor, he used the document camera almost exclusively for his class, and his son was some kind of engineer, and his son, jerry-rigged him something so he could just take a webcam and point it down like this at his documents, and, hey, I've got a document camera for my home office now.
Yeah, I think that, especially for these companies, I think the whole supply chain logistics and everything that goes on in that world is just absolutely fascinating. And if we think what we've learned, I think about what they've learned, it's just got to be amazing. But I think for me, the biggest one is absolutely software control and using soft-based anything. I think the ideas that Ernie and Kevin both brought up of this idea of flexibility, and I'm curious to see, education is a big old oil tanker, and turning that thing around is hard. And so it's easy, I think, for any of us right now to say, oh, we're so much more flexible, we can do anything. And I'm just curious to see in your 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if we've kind of just started drifting back into course of using the same old vendor. But I think at least our ability to be aware of the need to absolutely shift quickly and equip rooms quickly and equip things quickly is huge. And just having parts and spare parts. We were so accustomed to just being able to call up anybody and say, overnight this to me. I don't care what it costs, overnight it to me. And now we know we need to be sufficient and have that stuff ready at any point.
We had kind of gotten out of the habit of having a spare of each thing because it was so easy to get, like RMAs, like turnaround, like next day replacements. Like they were so easy to get that we were like, well, we don't really need to, have money sitting on a shelf. But now we're like, you know what? It's probably a good idea to have that one, and one or two extras sitting there. And I think what also we learned is to start projects sooner than later. Whereas before we would, if a department came to us and was like, we want to redo our conference room or wanted to do something, we'd be like, oh, sure. When did you want it? And they're like, in 8 weeks. And we'd be like, not a problem. Because we knew that we'd be able to get that equipment in. And as long as they could block that room off, we could get it done. But now we're like, if someone says they need a project done in 8 weeks, I laugh because I'm like, good luck with that. Because it's not, it's not happening unless we're in fairyland and somebody's got a magic wand. So yeah, it's like planning things well in advance has become the new norm.
Yeah, well, you go back to what you were saying about, having stuff on the shelf. Do you remember what the big push was in 2017, 2018? Lean project management.
Just in
You
time.
don't buy anything. Yeah, just in time deliveries and all that. That's gone. That did not last very long. I mean, we had a big push for the lean and green project management courses and teaching everyone, you buy it, you arrange shipping where it comes in 30 minutes before you need it. Well, COVID taught us that's not a good plan.
It's nice in theory, but not, doesn't quite occur that way in reality.
It does help those mid-June phone calls, though, of I've got some extra money in my budget. And you can just say, nah, not going to happen.
Right.
Not going to happen.
Right. You're like, stock up on office supplies? Because you can get those at least.
Yeah, well, we've got now to putting out a notice in early March that says, if you need any AV work done over the summer, we have to have plans and financing arranged by mid-April. April 15th basically is our date that we set. If you come to us with a request after that, it's not going to happen over the summer. So you need to spend your year-end money mid-year.
Yeah, and even then I'm like, April 15th, oh my God. How's it going to get done in time? That's how, I guess, scared of the timeline I've become. I'm just like, oh, I need all of the months to get it done. But
Well, I think when to me, it's kind of showing how much now we are valued as AV people too. If we're saying, hey, we need more time to get this right, you're not skimping on quality here. You wouldn't think. Good, fast, and cheap. You can have two of the three.
Yeah, maybe. We basically own the technology in all the classrooms. So that's already planned out. So it's departmental conference rooms, things like that, little huddle spaces that we might get requests to do over the summer. And we used to be able to, take a request in May and have it finished by the end of June before the money ran out, or at least have it all purchased and have the boxes sitting there. But we don't even do that anymore. Now we've moved it. April 15th is a hard deadline for us. And I work closely with our computer department that buys all the Dell computers for our campus. We're a Dell house. We get basically a truck from Dell every few days, a full truckload coming to our campus, and they have the same rule. And we set the date together. Computer orders, AV orders have the same deadline. If you want to spend your year-end money, you have to plan a little bit ahead of time.
Well, today has been another fantastic episode. Thank you all for joining me and the panel and our special guest. If anyone wants to reach out, how can they get in touch with you, Ernie?
LinkedIn is the best way to find me right now.
Okay. And how about you, Scott?
You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Rave Pubs as well.
Kevin, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
How can people reach out to you?
LinkedIn's the best way, and usually you can find me on the Sunday morning AV and the AM chats too.
Excellent. And as for me, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's pretty much the best way these days. So, and on occasion, you can see me also on the AV and the AM on the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. When I can get up early enough on a Sunday without my family bugging me. Anyway, so thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.